This video from GB News elicited a stern rage boner from me today. Europe and its leaders have been completely isolated from these discussions. The Spectator's Madeline Grant criticises Donald Trump and Israel's exclusion of other major world powers in making a decision on action against Iran. Hello ladies and gents, how are you doing? Now you all pay attention, don't you? The Spectator used to be a good magazine, but then that fat, slimy, barren greenback-looking frisp, Andrew Neil, took the helm and from his chateau in the south of France pushes the same neoliberal claptrap that every other slimy, sweaty, self-serving sack of rats in the British media class likes to peddle with reckless abandon. And they all hated Brexit, and they all love globalism, and they all hate you. So, of course, you shouldn't be listening to 8 out of 10 people who work for that once great publication. But this woman here talks absolute gibberish, so of course it's my job to come on here and translate what she actually means as I desperately attempt to mitigate the unending stream of vapid IQ-sapping bilge that comes out of this yo-yo knickered Jezebel's trap. So let's get into it, shall we? Right, come along then, Madeline. Please explain to me why the collection of ankle-grabbing, treacherous dogs that run the European Union, men of such fine calibre as Guy Verhofstadt and serpentine careerists like Ursula von der Scheisseporn, tell me why they should be consulted when the US Air Force decides to bomb someone. Give me one good reason why I should trust a morbidly obese Belgian bureaucrat like everybody's favourite health minister here. Health minister, when a blood type's Lurpak. Yeah, let's listen to the health minister, shall we? Anyway, please, Madeline, explain to me why the leaders of the continent that invited 20 million fighting age regulars from Alan's snack bar into Europe. Tell me why this would be a good idea. I'm all ears.
Firstly, a lot of the commentary around this was completely wrong. You know, this assumption that there would be no escalation, and also the way in which Europe and its leaders, including Britain, have been completely isolated.
Why would he trust you? Why would anybody in the United States trust leaders of European nations? Why? These people could have been dealt with 2 decades ago if the leaders of the European Union, and especially the United Kingdom, slimy, spineless little weasels that they are, hadn't constantly whinged about restraint and diplomacy, diplomatic immunity. No, diplomacy. Pointless diplomacy. Let me ask you something. Do you think if the Chinese had the power that the Americans have had for the last 50 years, do you think they would have been anywhere near as restrained in the wielding of their big stick? Do you? The leaders of Europe have armed, helped, and in the case of the British government, assisted kiddie fiddlers for decades. They helped fighting-age men storm Europe after they were beaten back at the gates of Vienna. The leaders of the European Union have done nothing but assist the descendants of the people that tried to take the continent with fire and blades. They've done nothing but help them. So why the hell would the Americans trust the Europeans with important information? I wouldn't trust Keir Starmer with a spare key for my shed, let alone war plans. The man is a snake. If he thinks he'll get some benefit out of selling information to the highest bidder, he'll do it. And it won't be expensive, will he? You don't have to spend large sums of money. You just slip 2 Ukrainian rent boys 40 quid, send them knocking on his kitchen door, and he's all ears. He'll spill more beans than a particularly clumsy Mexican chef.
I feel that we're completely on the sidelines, and the only players that matter here are Israel and the USA, and Israel will do what it wants to do regardless of what we say about it.
Yeah, as it should be. And if Britain want to do something like, I don't know, put a ring of steel around the entire island, scramble 2,000 Royal Marines and a few Special Forces units, stop a single foreign toenail from ever touching a British beach ever again, sink a few people traffickers' boats, and then send all of the leadership to Guantanamo Bay, we should just do that. unilaterally as well. Why do we need to discuss these things with other people? Why? I'm not going to make a big video defending the Americans and the Israelis and condemning the Iranians. I don't care too much, to be honest. It's 6,500 miles away from my house. I don't care if Iranians and Israelis mallet each other. Got nothing to do with me. But I'm not daft enough to sit here claiming that they should run everything by me first. Why do they need to? As I said in my video yesterday, you worry about you, sugar tits. Worry about fixing the United Kingdom. Worry about following or deporting or capturing the religious fundamentalists that infest every town and city in the United Kingdom. Worry about them before you start crying about what's going on 2 continents away, you silly mare.
Your reaction to the strike itself, Madeleine, is the world a safer place because of the strike or less safe?
I think it's probably a safer place. I think that, of course, people of my generation grew up in the shadow of the Iraq War, where there were lies told and misinformation about the nature of the threat in Iraq. So I think that does slightly.
You can tell she's an Oxbridge-educated journo, can't you? Mitivimite. They love that word. They love it. Just say lies. Lying bastards. The Iraq War, they were lying bastards. Tony Blair, I wouldn't believe his radio. He couldn't lie straight in bed. They told us there was WMDs. Turns out there's more anthrax under me nana's fridge than there was in the entire country of Iraq. Just call them dirty, stinky, slimy liars. You don't have to quote the World Economic Forum whenever you make a press release. Jesus Christ.
Slightly coloured discussions, but I think that Iran is an order of magnitude very different to that. The Israeli, the rationale for doing so did not come out of nothing. It came out of intelligence reports, including from the International Atomic Agency. So, I think on balance it probably is. And I think Olaf Scholz is much more on the money here than Keir Starmer is.
Stella, what do you make of, first of all, the American attack on Iran?
It is a reckless escalation. There is no democratic mandate. This is exactly the opposite of what Trump has promised his voters that he was going to do. He's being manipulated by Netanyahu. He was not going to do that. They knew that they're going to need U.S. intervention, and this is what is happening now. I completely disagree that the intelligence is now better. The International Atomic Energy, the IAEA, said the same exact thing, which the CIA has been saying, that Iran is very, very far away from having the capacity to have a nuclear weapon.
Well, I'll tell you what, you can tell that last one was a Labour advisor, because I didn't even understand 40% of what she said there. Yeah, if they're taking all of their advice from people that can barely speak the Queen's, no wonder they don't have a clue what's going on. Think of that. If it wasn't for Diane Abacus, that'd be the least well-spoken Labour advisor I've ever heard. Anyway, I'm rambling. The point of the video is this. Weak European leadership will lead to more war. You don't keep feeding a crocodile hoping it'll eat you last. European leaders are weak, pathetic, spineless quislings who only care about coin and don't care about their continent. That's why Merkel let in 20 million unvetted men. That's why Guy Verhofstadt is constantly talking bollocks about the UK, because we're the ones who don't want to be ruled with an iron fist by a bunch of unelected spineless bureaucrats. And that's why, if it wasn't blatantly, painfully obvious, the United States doesn't tell them when they're going to launch a military strike, because the cringing cowards in Europe couldn't deal with a monkeypox outbreak. They couldn't run a second-hand car dealership, let alone a country or a continent. So why would you tell them your battle plans? And for kudos off the BBC, the leaders of Europe have spent the last 10 years slagging off Trump. So what's he going to be your mate for now? How two-faced is Keir Starmer when it comes to talking to Trump? So shut up whinging about it. The big lads are talking, Marianne. And don't buy the Spectator, please. It's the same drivel that you get from the trigonometry lads or a BBC journalist masquerading as a conservative. Okay? Total bollocks. Anyway, that's just my opinion. If you disagree, as usual, please feel free to have a go in the comments, and I'll see you all tomorrow, all right? Toodle pip. Cheers.